Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my new video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about latest developments in Iran, namely this plane crash that happened. An American tanker aircraft had crashed over Iraq. 6 service members had died, American service members. I'm also going to be talking more about Modi, and I'm also going to be talking about a bit more about India and Trump removing sanctions on Russia. What does it mean? And I'm also going to be talking one major news today that there was an attack on British special forces in northern Iraq. And looks like there's been a few casualties, including deaths. And the press and government seems to be blaming Putin. They're saying that Putin gave the intelligence to Iran to fire at that base. But we're going to talk about it. So let's start with this story. This US Air Force KC-135 refueling aircraft crashed over Iran. From the evidence, it looks like there was 2 of them flying to refuel some Israeli aircraft. And what happened was they were taking some ground fire from anti-aircraft machine guns and missiles, batteries, and things like that. And they were coming from Iraq, from the Iraqi resistance. And one of them took some evasive maneuver to avoid these attacks, and looks like it crashed with the other aircraft. So one of the aircraft took heavy damage and it crashed over Iraq, and the other one took damage, but it flew all the way back to Israel. So looks like these aircraft were involved over Iraqi airspace to attack Iran. And because of this incident, Iran did not take any attacks from any Israeli jets today, so they had to cancel the sortie, which is good news for Iran, basically. So basically, they had to go back to Israel, including the F-18, I mean F-16s and F-35s that were flying as well. So because they couldn't refuel, they had to go back. So that cancelled bombing sorties for the day for those particular aircraft. So which is good news for Iran, I guess. It was funny that CENTCOM actually were boasting about these refueling aircraft. They were boasting on their social media how they were refueling Israeli and American aircraft to basically kill, children and Iranian people, basically civilians. The cost of this aircraft, I think this particular aircraft was made in the 1950s, and there's about 8 of them in at the moment. There's 8 in the Middle East which they're using. So one has crashed, including 6 US service members, and the other one took heavy damage, so that's -2. So they've only got 6 in the Middle East now. The cost of each of them, I read somewhere they're about 60 million or something along those lines. But the cost to replace these planes is going to be much, much more. It's going to be well into hundreds of millions because of inflation, and the cost of everything has just gone up. So they're losing a lot. America has lost a lot of aircraft in this war that they're fighting against Iran. They've lost a lot of drones. I think they've lost about 5 or 6 airplanes. They've lost about 20 drones or something. So they're taking a huge, huge, you know, loss. The Americans. Plus, all the American bases are being destroyed. Radar systems are being destroyed, communications, infrastructure. The bases are being destroyed with equipment and a lot of things they're not telling us because it's obviously quite secret. So, so end of the day, guys, this isn't really going well for them, economically. And if you think about it, they're losing all this, equipment, money, lives, even American lives. And these drones and missiles that are coming from Iran, they're very, very cheap. And, you know, if one drone gets shot down by an anti-aircraft missile, economically, Iran still wins because, if each of these drones, they cost between 10 to $20,000, and these PAC-3 interceptors, Patriot interceptors, they cost about $1 million each. So even if they shoot these drones down, Iran still wins economically because in terms of maths, when you shoot down something that costs 20,000 with a $1 million missile, maths just doesn't add up, and end of the day, it's the Americans that lose. They're the ones that lose more money. So this war that they're having is already costing the Americans a lot of money, and they just cannot afford it, guys. I mean, look, everyone knows the American economy or the United States economy, has not been doing very well lately. And if they lose this war, this is going to cause huge, huge embarrassment to United States and its standing. No other country will have any confidence in the United States protecting them at all. And you're going to see the whole world changing. And if America loses this war, the Middle East is going to change. The Middle Eastern countries, the Gulf countries, will make sure that the American bases are kicked out of the region. And they will look to Iran, Russia, and China for security instead. And they'll provide their own security as well. And this is going to be the end of the petrodollar because the only reason that these Gulf countries house American troops and bases in their countries is because they believe that the Americans will protect them no matter what. But that myth has gone now. They have realized, all the Arabs have realized, the Americans are there not to protect the Arabs, they're there to protect Israel. So all the anti-aircraft guns and missiles have all been shipped to Israel, and all the radars in the Arab countries, they are there to basically protect Israel. They are there to monitor Israel, make sure Israel is protected. So it looks like the oil prices are also going up as well. It did crash a few days ago because Trump and the G7 released some reserves, and now it's starting to go back up now, and it's probably gonna reach $100 by tomorrow, and they're gonna have to release some more reserves anyway. Americans are already low on reserves anyway because Biden has been releasing a lot of reserves after the Ukraine war. So America is really, really low at the moment, and they have not been filling up these reserves. So Trump doesn't really have much reserves left. So he's really is losing all his cards. And there was a report that came out today, and this was reported by um, some American papers, including Washington. I've seen in Washington Post and a few other publications, and they said that Trump and his administration, or shall I say his regime, did not foresee that Iran would close the Strait of Hormuz, because they said that in the 12-day war last year, when Israel was fighting Iran and America got involved, Iran did not close the Hormuz Strait, and it, it, w- they thought that it would cost Iran a lot more money to close the strait because um, they would have a bigger economic hit than the rest of the world. That's what they thought. They did not think that Iran would actually close the Hormuz Strait. So a lot of planning and thought did not go into this war at all. There's no plan B. There's no plan A even. And they just went. Trump just basically went off his feelings and decided to start a war for reason whatsoever. Well, his reason is because Witkoff and Jared Kushner told him to. So you have two guys here, Witkoff and Jared Kushner, who are obviously Israeli, puppets. Jared Kushner especially, he's got a lot of Israeli links, and and so does Steve Witkoff. So does the other people in Trump's regime. So they've all been basically whispering in Trump's ear, we should go and attack. So instead of Trump talking to his intelligence, instead of Trump talking to the Pentagon and talking to, Army, Navy officers, talking to, the Pentagon offices, intelligence, CIA, instead of taking advice from them, he takes advice from Jared Kushner and he starts the war. And his excuse is, I attacked Iran because Jared Kushner told me that they would attack America first. That was his excuse. So you see, this war is really not going well for America at all. Not at all. And they are really desperate for a ceasefire. But Iran doesn't really want a ceasefire. I mean, they've been attacked twice now in a year. So what Iran wants is security guarantees. They want American bases to be out of the region. They want compensation for the attacks that America and Israel did. And but money is not the main thing. I think for Iran, it's all about security. They do not want to wait another 6 months, a year after the ceasefire, and America and Israel restock, and then they attack Iran again. So Iran does not want that. So this is the same reason Russia is fighting Ukraine, because they do not want NATO bases in their borders. They do not want NATO bases with nuclear weapons pointing at Russia. So it's all about security end of the day, and Iran also wants his own security. So this is like a big existential threat for Iran, and they will fight this war until the end because this is a huge, huge deal for them. While America can easily walk away, they can close the bases and they can walk away, like they're doing, like they're doing in Ukraine. They can easily walk away. You don't have to be in Ukraine, and they don't have to be in the Middle East. The only reason they're in the Middle East is because of the oil and because of Israel. So yeah, that's the main story today. I mean, Israel is also getting pummeled today as well. This is Israel's oil refinery. So remember a couple of days ago when Israel attacked Iran's oil depots and refineries? Well, looks like Iran is doing the same now to Israel. It's a tit for tat at the end of the day. And this is why you should never attack oil facilities or infrastructure, because at the end of the day, if you look at the size of Israel compared to Iran, Israel is much smaller, which means Israel will most likely be destroyed faster than Iran because there's more targets in Iran. Iran's a bigger country. It's got mountain regions. They Also, Iran is hiding a lot of the stuff underground as well. They've been preparing for this war for over 50 years, so a lot of their stuff is underground. While Israel is basically quite small compared to Iran. Everything is everything is easily targeted from a small area, and plus, I don't think Israel has much stuff underground because it's a small country. They do have some stuff underground, but I think that well, the problem with Israel is just it's too arrogant. They thought that they had the backing of America no matter what, and no Muslim country would be stupid enough to attack Israel. That's what they thought, and unfortunately, they were wrong. And they thought that they got a bit arrogant with the Middle East. They took down Gaza, obviously. They took down Syria over 10 years. They've taken down Iraq. and it was quite easy for Israel. They let America do most of the work, and they let other proxies do most of the work in Syria. So I think they got a bit arrogant. They got a bit excited, and they thought maybe Iran would be an easy job. If they attack Iran, maybe the people will rise up in Iran and take over the country. That's what they thought. Unfortunately, wasn't you know that wasn't on the cards, and they did not expect Iran to fight back and fire missiles into Israel. And yeah, it shocked a lot of Israelis by the looks of it. And again, the whole world does not give them any sympathy at all because what goes around comes around. This is the same stuff that Israel has done to Gaza, and they've absolutely destroyed Gaza. So you can see online, nobody's got any sympathy for Israelis whatsoever. So let's talk about Modi. Modi had a chat with my favorite guy in Iran, Pezeshkian, and he spoke to him, and he's basically begging for Indian ships to be sent via the Hormuz Strait. And in the morning, I saw a lot of articles saying that they agreed that Indian ships can go through. But a couple of hours later, Iran basically sent a statement saying Indian ships are not coming through the Hormuz Strait because the reason is India has chose a side and they chose to be with the West and Israel. And Iran's posture is very clear. The Hormuz Strait is closed to America and Israel and its allies. That's what they said. And they said India is their ally. And because India is the ally, um, they cannot go through the Hormuz Strait. So that was the IRGC statement. So a couple of things to take away here, basically. So first of all, as I said before, Pezeshkian doesn't really have much power in Iran. So Modi was talking to the wrong guy here. So Modi was obviously talking to Pezeshkian, and they probably agreed um, maybe Indians will be allowed to go through. But IRGC is running the country right now because end of the day, Iran is at war. And when Iran is at war, IRGC calls the shots. It's not coming, the decisions are not coming from Pezeshkian. He doesn't really have much power in Iran. And they know he's basically a pro-Western guy. And I think a lot of the trouble Iran is in today is because of him. Because he's been trusting the West too much and giving them too much information and doing all sorts of, negotiations and stuff like that, making Iran look very weak and maybe giving away secrets, who knows. But yeah, Pezeshkian doesn't really have much power. So Modi was talking to the wrong guy to try and get Indian ships coming through. So they could have agreed for Indian ships to go through with Pezeshkian, but when the IRGC released a statement later, they said that Indian ships are not allowed to go through. So again, it just shows Pezeshkian doesn't have any power, and secondly, IRGC are the ones running the show in Iran. And if Modi wants access through the Hormuz Strait, he needs to talk to IRGC, or he needs to talk to Ayatollah Khamenei, who is the new leader of Iran. So let's talk about the next story. So the next story, that obviously the IRGC released statements saying Indian ships are not allowed to go through, and then the Indians sent this guy to send some threats to Iran, and you can see he is saying that if Iran doesn't allow Indian ships to go through, then there will be consequences. That was his own words. So it's not clear whether India will join in the war as consequences, or they will apply sanctions or something like that. Who knows? But it sounds like threats to Iran. And I've also read some articles about India as well, one of the reasons that India backstabbed Iran, because India and Iran actually had very good relationships going back centuries. These are two old civilizations. Iran has got history of 4 or 5 thousand year civilization, and India has also got a very old civilization. So they've had ups and downs, obviously, but they've generally been in good, been in good friends and throughout the centuries. So it doesn't make sense for Modi to backstab Iran like this because he really did backstab Iran. And the reason he did that was because he he basically got sold. I'm talking about Modi. Modi got sold a dream by Netanyahu from Israel. And the dream was to build some sort of Arab Israeli corridor to Europe. So basically, there would be a land shipping route from Saudi Arabia going all the way to Israel, and from Israel to Europe by sea, by the Mediterranean, and this land route and sea route would go directly from India. So India to Middle East, GCC, and then from GCC will go all the way to through Israel into Europe. So that was the grand plan, and Modi got completely sold on that plan. And also, I think there was some talk. I don't know if this was AI or something, but I saw this clip of Modi saying that you know he needs to the greater Israeli plan is gonna happen sooner or later, and India needs to align itself with Israel, and they need to get rid of terrorism countries like Iran and stuff like that. I don't know if it's AI or not, but I think I think it is what Modi was thinking behind the scenes. He knows the big power uh, that Israel has over America, and everyone sees that. America is basically fighting Israeli wars, and Netanyahu calls the shots. And this is why India is trying to be pali with Israel, trying to be friends with Israel because they know they are like a rising power in the Middle East. And Iran is the only thing that's stopping Israel from its greater Israel project. So this is why Modi has basically turned on Iran and dumped Iran and went for Israel because he sees them as the future of the Middle East. And it's going to really hurt Modi because he hasn't really thought this through. He really hasn't thought. He thought that Iran again would probably collapse with American and Israeli attacks. And Modi must have known that Israel was going to attack India. He met Netanyahu one day before he attacked, Iran, and he must have known because there is no way, he would not have told him. Netanyahu must have told him, look, we're planning on attacking Iran. America and Israel, are you with us or against us? And Modi must have said, yeah, I'm with you. And this has completely backfired on India because he did not expect Iran to fight back so hard, close the Hormuz Strait. So these guys, they didn't really think this through, and Iran is really, punishing India for it now, and India's really going to get punished because they're running out of gas, and this is going to cause huge economic problems to India. There's a lot of articles I'm looking at India as well. People are saying that India's economy is fake. They're not really the fourth biggest economy in the world because they've been messing around with the GDP numbers, and it's not a sign of prosperity because apparently only 10 families make money in India, and Ambani family alone makes 10% of the GDP of India. So there's only a few families in India that actually make the money. Everyone else are just poor or like not even middle class guys. We're talking about poverty here. 90% are basically poverty. And all the clips you see on India, people walking around with canisters. They're desperate to buy gas canisters to cook food. So my question was, why doesn't India have working kitchens, with gas and electricity so they can cook the food? Why do they have to go to the shop and buy gas canisters, LPG canisters? Why do they have to do that? Because it's the same reason they don't have any pipes or plumbing for their toilets even. And because India is like the worst form of democracy where you have only a few people making money, while everyone else is just living in poverty. They don't care about people's lives, improving people's lives, giving them, good sanitation, good toilets, good cooking facilities, gas, so they can cook, or even give them electricity so they can cook. They can buy electric cookers and things like that. But none of that exists. So it's absolutely crazy, guys. And now you see Indians fighting over canisters, and it's just going to get worse over the next few days. They really did not think this through at all. So you can see inflation is starting to rise in India again. And when inflation rises, it's only people in poverty that are really going to suffer because it's food, shelter, heating, everything's going to be, or air conditioning, everything's going to be more expensive for average Indian living in India, and this is just going to hit the poor even more. So I'm going to talk about Russia as well, and this story as well. Basically, Trump has decided to remove the sanctions on Russia. So what does this mean? So first of all, this means that Europeans again have been stabbed by Trump, and this means that Russia can sell oil in the market, and other countries can buy Russian oil. And this also means that Russia doesn't have to sell oil to Europeans anymore. I think Putin had said that Russia basically will stop supplying um, gas and oil to Europe because Europe wanted to ban all Russian gas and oil by 2027. So Putin is saying, why wait? Why not just cancel it now? So already he knows that a lot of the world needs oil and gas, especially now because everything's getting very expensive. So he's looking to cancel these oil and gas contracts with the Europeans and give them instead to China and other countries as well, friendly countries in Asia and other countries as well. And this is going to really put Europe into a recession because they are not getting the gas and oil from the usual contracts, and they have not been able to replace the Russian gas from Russia. They've been buying really expensive LNG from America. They've been buying from Qatar as well, but Qatar has basically stopped producing gas, and Europeans are going to really suffer, especially with summer and winter coming up, and they just won't have enough reserves. And the country that's going to suffer the worst is probably UK because they've only got a few more days left of gas supplies. After that, already bills are going up, and lives in Britain is going to get even worse. So there's another story where British special forces have been killed in Iraq, or or they've been seriously injured. Obviously, they're not going to tell us because these are special forces, and they're blaming Putin for it. And my answer is, so what? The British have been helping Ukrainians kill Russians over the past 4 years. They've been attacking Russian territory. They've been using British intelligence, British soldiers, special forces, and they've been giving Russia a lot of pain over the last 4 years. So why can't Russia do the same to the British? You know, it's tit for tat. What's the point complaining? you've been doing this to Russia, so Russia's got, within its rights to do everything back to the UK. And I wouldn't be surprised if Russia's been giving a lot of intelligence to Iran to basically fire a lot of drones or missiles to certain locations. And that's what allies do. Russia had said that they are not neutral in this war. They are will totally support Iran, and same with China as well. And it's within their rights, as allies, to basically provide as much help to your ally as possible, whether it's intelligence, whether it's financial, whether it's spare parts, diplomatic. You have to do as much as you can. So I don't know what the British are complaining about. If you're going to do this to other countries and like Russia, expect it to be done to you. That's the name of the game. That's how it works. That's how the world works. So that's all I wanted to talk about, guys. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care for now.